Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Torah on Tap. We are in the middle of mastering fire, water, air, earth, unleashing our power. Today we're going to talk about the 4 realms of struggle. Now, we spoke about earth, water, wind, fire as being the 4 elements. We spoke about the 5th element last week as being the soul. Thank you so much. There is a understanding that Kol hatchalot kashot, all beginnings are difficult. V'kol holech acharosh, and everything goes after the head, the beginning. And therefore, if you want to understand all struggle, if you want to understand all challenge, if you want to be in a place where you could go ahead and walk away with a deeper appreciation for who you are, what you are, why you are the way you are, then let's go back into the story as we discussed last week. The book of Genesis isn't a book of laws, it's a book of stories that are specifically there to tell you a little bit about how we got to where we are right now in history. And today's class is actually very relevant because of what's happening around the world, and hopefully we'll walk away with a deeper appreciation not only for Bereshit as the Sefer, but also for the struggle that the world is going through right now. Okay, so let's look back at the beginning. God creates man, puts man and woman in the garden, right? Look at source number 2. He says that he puts man in the garden, and v'yitzmach Hashem Elokim et min ha'adama kol etz nechmad l'mareh tov l'ma'achal ve'etz ha'chaim b'toch hagad ve'etz hada'at tov ra. There are how many trees in the garden? There are 2 trees in the garden. And where are they located? In the middle of the garden. Okay, so what do we know about the trees? What do we know about the etz hada'at tov ra and etz ha'chaim? Not really much. All we know is that there are these 2 trees. God planted them. It says it's nechmad l'mareh v'tov l'ma'achal. It's pleasant. There's something powerful about perceiving this tree, something profound about eating it as well. Okay, that's all we know. But then it says God places man in the garden, number 3. Okay, lu'avda u'lishamra. He's not there just as a someone who's there to admire the beautiful garden. Okay, he's there to work. He has a job. He has a responsibility. Okay, God commands him. Says mikol etz ochal tochal. Every single tree you can eat from. However, you are surely die on the day that you eat from this tree. You can eat from every single garden, but this one tree you can't eat from. Now, the question is, what did this tree impart, and why was it so bad? Why would God create something and then withhold it from man? It sounds a little cruel, right? The guy can give everything in the world. He has everything there. And he's sitting there planning, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to make all these really cool trees that are awesome. I'm going to make this one tree the coolest of all the trees. I'm going to tell this guy, sorry, can't touch this. Can't eat it, can't touch it, nothing. And the question is, why? Well, let's define, what's the tree called again? The eitz? What does that mean? So God created knowledge and withheld it from man. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? God created the tree of knowledge and said, man, you can't have that knowledge. Does that mean that Adam did not possess knowledge? He was empty of knowledge? What's that? So then what was the tree imparting? What? What's that? Okay, true. He said you can't have it now, you can have it later maybe. Okay, true. And he did say you could eat from every other tree of the garden, and that's exactly what the Vilna Gaon says, that maybe his task was to eat first from the Eitz HaChaim first, and then eat from the Eitz HaDat. But we have to ask the question over here. The story is not just the story for the sake of telling a story, it's there to teach you a profound lesson. What's the lesson? Why would God create a tree of knowledge of good and evil and withhold that knowledge from man? Does that mean that Adam did not possess within him the understanding of good and evil? Okay, question. Was Adam a sociopath? Because that's what we would call someone who doesn't know the good and... Okay, at the very least we know that Adam would understand that God said, don't eat from this tree. Okay, so why does the story end so horribly? Because we would say that if you want to understand all of human history, look back at the story and you'll understand it all. And I want to try and show you how in the beginning of Bereshit, every single major, the four major stories moving beyond Adam and Eve are all stories about the four elements. And I'll show it to you today, Bezrat Hashem. Okay, fine. So we don't really know what this thing is, but do we know what the Etz HaChaim is? What is the tree of life? We know that the tree of life grants the person life. And I don't have the source here, but if you look later on, it says when after Adam and Eve eat from the tree, God says to the angels, let's stop them from eating from the tree of life so they live forever. So the two things that I know about these trees is that one tree gives you death and the other tree gives you life. Okay, let's ask the famous question. Were Adam and Eve mortal or immortal? And don't just say yes or no, give me a proof as to why. Were they mortal or immortal? Does it matter? Of course it matters. Well, if they were immortal, then what does the tree of life really give them? Nothing. If they were mortal, and they were going to die anyway, then who cares about the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Do you hear the question? So which one were they? You're all adults. I'm sure you've heard the story 1,000 times, and I'm sure you asked this question. Did you find an answer? So I'll tell you the answer. The answer is found in the Ramban, Nachmanides. It's his question. And he says that they were neither mortal or immortal. And that at this point in time, their choices would have defined their reality. And therefore, their choice to eat from the Etz Hadat or the Etz HaChaim would have transformed the world that you and I live in today. Now, what is the Etz HaChaim? Ashkenazim should know this answer more so than the Sephardim, by the way. And the reason is because every Shabbat they sing the song Etz Chaim, right? Etz Chaim Hi. They sing that song. They take out the Torah on Saturday, right? What is that song talking about? Why do we sing Etz Chaim Hi Lamachazikim Ba when we take out the Torah? Because there's some correlation between the Etz HaChaim and the Torah itself. And I'll prove it to you. Ready? After Adam and Chava eat from the Etz Hadat Tov Hara, what's the name of the angels that come out to stop them from going into Gan Eden? Anyone know? I'll give you a hint. What are the names of the angels on top of the Aron, the Ark of the Covenant? What's that? The cherubs, or the Kruvim. The name of the angels that come out to prevent Adam and Eve from eating, from going back and going into the tree, into Gan Eden and eating the tree of life are called the cherubs, the Kruvim. The only other time you hear those names of those angels is in the construction of the ark. So, by the way, in both places they're doing exactly the same thing. In Gan Eden, they're protecting Adam and Eve from going into the garden, protecting them from going and getting the Etz HaChaim. And in the ark, what things are found inside of the ark? The luchot, which ones? Both of them, the broken ones and the and Moses' ones. What else do you have in there? And the man. What else? Come on, guys. What else is in the ark? Okay, good. What else? What? The menorah? No, that's in the same room, not inside the ark. The last thing is Moshe wrote a Sefer Torah. It is the Torah that all Torahs are based off of. The Torah that you and I have inside our Aharon is the same exact Torah that's inside the ark. So you have a Torah scroll, you have the tablets, broken tablets, man, staves, other things in there also, which is not for now. Okay, interesting stuff inside there. So the Kruvim are there to protect the stuff inside it, right? If you've watched Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know how it ends. When the Nazis tried finding the stolen ark and they opened it, what happened? They all melted. That doesn't happen in Judaism, right? The ark is a powerful, I'd say a powerful tablet that's there to allow us to tap into the original power that was latent when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people. And Bezrat Hashem, soon, we're going to find it, and we're going to bring Mashiach together. We're going to end all the wars, we're going to end the suffering, our soldiers are going to come home, we're going to stop all the craziness of the world right now, we're going to stop it. Okay? So, Adam and Eve have a choice to make. One choice. Okay? And they mess it up. They eat from the Etz HaChaim, eat from the Eitz Hadat Tovara, not the Eitz HaChaim. So I'm going to say like this. The Eitz HaChaim is the instruction manual to life. The word Torah comes from the word Hora'ah, which means instruction manual. Instruction manual for what? For life. Judaism is not a religion. It is a system that is designed for peak performers that want to live a life of excellence. So if you're a loser, it doesn't work for you. It works for winners. Right? It works for people that are committed, dedicated, educated, hardworking, people that understand boundaries, people that understand that in order to live a life of meaning, you got to put in hard work every day for the rest of your lives. Okay? That is what Torah is. And therefore, the word Hora'ah, the instruction manual of the Torah, is not just a one-dimensional script. Here, these are the do's and don'ts, do this and don't do that. That's not what the Torah is. The Torah is 10-dimensional. 10 dimensions to the Torah. Every layer, every halacha, every story is there to teach you something more profound. And all we're doing right now is we're scratching the surface of the stories in the first book of the Torah itself. Okay. Let's ask a question over here. Why did God create man alone? If God is so smart and he's so brilliant, wouldn't he have just created him with a partner? By the way, this is the first time the Torah says not good. Every other time before this pasuk, right? You look at the pasuk. This is Perek Bet Yud Chet. The first chapter, the second chapter, 18 verses. The first time God says "ng," no good, is right here. It's not good for man to be left alone, which means every single one of us has a responsibility not to be alone. I'm not talking about increasing your social network. I'm talking about finding someone, hunting someone down, and settling down, and creating your own families. Right? That's what it means, lo tovia. It's not good to be alone. Now let's see why. Look what Rashi says. I love Rashi's answer. By the way, this Rashi is how I found my wife. Okay? So Rashi says, why is it not good for man to be left alone? He says, this is true for men, not for women. Shelo yomru shtei rishiyoten. The reason why it says it's not good for man to be left alone is because if man is left alone, he will say there are two powers, there are two gods. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'elyonim, there's God who is master of the universe above, and lo zug, and he has no partner. V'zeh b'tachtonim en lo zug, and this guy down here, he also has no partner. And therefore, the man makes the calculation. His issue is the ego, right? If God is alone, and he's got married, and the man is down here and I'm not married, must be, I don't need to be married because I'm a God like God. And therefore, the reason why men need to get married, this is what Rashi taught me over here, is that if they stay single for too long, they start thinking that they are God's greatest gift to the planet. And I hate to say this, you're not. You're a loser. It says over here that the reason why men need to get married is to humble themselves. The only way you can get married is finding the humility to recognize that we are imperfect beings that are devoid of completion. And the only way we can become complete is by finding the humility within ourselves to see the godliness in someone else, not in ourselves. So when I went out with my wife and she burst my ego bubble and helped me realize I was nothing but a mortal man, I knew she was the one, based on that Rashi. Okay? So don't take the ego bursting as she's not for me. No, my friends, that's usually the sign that she's the right girl. Ezer kenegdo, zacha, ezer, lo zacha, kenegdo. Famous Rashi over here, your merit to have a good wife. You have someone who's someone there who's a ezer, she helps you. If not kenegdo, she's against you. That's the nature of all relationships. It has the power of bringing two people so close together, and if you mess it up, so far apart. Okay, no more Musar, I promise. Let's keep going. What was the winning argument that the snake made for the Adam and Eve, or Eve in this part, to go ahead and eat from the Eitz Hadat Tovara? I could do a whole class on just Adam and Eve. Okay? What was the winning argument? How did this Nachash, which was Aru Mikol Chayot HaSadeh, which was more cunning than all the other animals of the field, what was this winning argument that he makes to convince Chava to eat from the Eitz Hadat Tovara? Adam, we know, told her, don't eat it, don't touch it. Right? Made chumrot, made stringencies on it. Okay? She knew that. What is the Nachash's argument? Look, come with me. Look at number Surah 7, number 1. Okay, he says to the woman, this is the argument, Af, ki amar elukim lo tochlu mikol etz hagan, even though God said don't eat from it. Is that an argument? Or is that a sentence that is not completed? Look at that verse. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a lecture. This is a conversation. Tell me what that pasuk says. What's going on there? What?
Rhetoric.
Okay, what kind of rhetoric? Why? When you read the story, remember, however you understand it, I see this as a book that comes from a higher source. Okay, I believe that there is an infinite being that gave this to mankind. It's written what we call Lashon Adam, in the language of man. That means the language that you and I can understand, and therefore it can't just be a story. It's there to teach you some profound lesson. If it was a bunch of guys sitting in a cave plotting a story, they could have done a much better job. Terrible grammar, horrible spelling, they have no idea what they're doing. But if you're trying to write a story that has layers on it, you want to stack, you're purposely going to go ahead and do things in the text that begs the question, and through that questioning, you and I walk away with, hopefully, profound insight. What was the Nachash's argument? Even though God said don't do it, fill in the, what's he really saying? Do it. Is that an argument? And why does the pasuk want me to finish his sentence? Why does the verse write it in a way where I need to, he says, even though God said don't do it, come on, help me out over here, audience, do it. Interesting. Let's look at number 2. Are you suggesting that we should eat from this tree? The same tree that God said if we touch it or eat it, we're going to die. You will not die. Was he lying to her? The first lesson of Bereshit and the Nachash never lied. So then the question is, why was he evil? He didn't tell her, he didn't lie to her, he didn't mislead her anyway. Everything he said was 100% true. What's that? The temptation. Okay, now, what's he saying to her? Now, Ki yodea Elokim, because God knows, Ki biyom achacham, in the day that you eat it, nifkechu enechem, your eyes will open, veitem kelokim yodea tovara. Is that true? That in the day that they ate from it, that their eyes opened, they knew good and evil? What? It was true. We see that later on, that their eyes were open and they knew that they were naked. How does that teach you like you're God? Okay, let's keep going. Vatera isha kitov ha'et. She saw, wow, this is a good tree. Lamachal to eat. Kitavahi le'einayim. It is tava for the eyes. V'nechmad ha'etz lahaskia. V'tikach mipirio tocham menu. Gam isha ima u'yochal. She then went ahead, takes from this tree and gives it to her man to eat as well. And Adam eats from it. Tipachena einay shneim. Their eyes open, like the Nachash said. V'yodu ki aromimhem. They knew that they were naked. V'peru ala teina. V'yasu lo chagurot. They took fig leaves, and they made themselves a tunic of sorts to blind themselves from their embarrassment. Now, why does eating from the Eitz Hadat Tovara help them recognize that they were naked? They didn't know they were naked before? I mean, they're standing in the garden. You got a breeze going. You know, you for sure know what's going on outside. They saw each other. By the way, we know that they knew each other already before this. So they knew that there was no layers there. Why is it that eating the Eitz Hadat Tovara gave them the from what? They weren't embarrassed before. Now, so what the Eitz Hadat Tovara gives you is embarrassment, awareness that they were. Did they not know they were naked before? No, they for sure knew. That's why I'm asking you the question. What? They for sure knew, right? So the question is, why are they embarrassed now? What? Tzniut? Apparently it's not an issue with tzniut because that's the way God created them in their birthday suits.
Because they knew it can be also bad.
But it was great before. What changed?
They ate from the tree.
But so what was it from eating from the tree that now they said this is a bad thing? Why? If you were born into... Okay, many years ago I ran a trip to Panama, and we went to one of these indigenous islands I was told to go. Okay, and I brought a group of Jewish students with me. And we're on these boats. We're traveling by those skinny boats with these people on our boat taking us to their little tribe. Okay, and and we're getting closer and closer. We see mamash like an island, and indigenous people that have been there for like 3,000 years running around. And as we're getting closer and closer and closer, Mechila, by the way, I apologize. This is like the most crass thing you'll hear me say ever. Everyone is topless. The men, the women, and the kids anyone under 9 is naked. So as we're getting closer to this island, I see what's going on. I'm like, I'm going to get killed. If these pictures go on Facebook, my career is over. So the guy on the boat, he sees like I'm freaking out. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, listen, I don't know if I can go on your island. He's like, they didn't tell you that we're I'm like, no one told me anything about this. I did not know. It's not in the fine print. I read everything. No. He's like, okay, we're going to tell everyone to cover up. Now, in a community where everyone walks around half naked, is anyone embarrassed? So if you were, this is my point. My point is that there was no embarrassment. So what changed all of a sudden? That if you have communities today in the world where they're not embarrassed because that's their natural state, certainly there's something much more profound and deeper about this realization that changed for them. And I think the answer is as follows, okay? Follow me for a moment, okay? I've used this example before on a Tuesday night, so it won't be new. Right now, Elon Musk is putting people in space. Right? And in order to go ahead and travel in the space environment, right, like the moon, like Bezrat Hashem, in the next 10 years, there's going to be a private program to take people like me and you to space. And we're definitely going to do a Safar trip to the moon, 100%. We're going to do Kiddush Levana, on the Levana together. It'll be amazing. Okay. Anyway, the question is, can you actually say the Kiddush Levana, the bracha, on the moon? Safek. You might have to be on Earth to do it. But anyway, because it's always a full moon there. Okay, anyway, so maybe from the satellite, it's coming down. Anyway, so you go outside in your spacesuit, and we're jumping around, and we're all in our spacesuits. Now, would anyone make fun of you for not wearing clothing on top of your spacesuit? Like, your spacesuit's not wearing a shirt or pants or a skirt. Like, isn't that weird? Now, if we lived our whole lives in space, and we saw people, putting on sweaters over their spacesuit, would we think it's weird? What?
Yeah.
Why?
It makes no sense.
Why?
Because they're all like this.
Because does the spacesuit you? So what we call a lavush, right? It's an article of clothing that I wear. What defines what you are? Is it our bodies or is it our souls? Adam and Eve lived in a world before the Chet where they were 100% certain that they were a neshama. And what became blurry afterwards is that they were no longer clear as to whether or not they were a soul or a body. This is why no one ever makes fun of you for riding on a horse that's naked. It's weird, like your horse it's like it's unclothed. Well, that's because the horse isn't me. Who cares about the horse? When Adam and Eve there was no busha because they understood that this stuff was just the spacesuit for your soul. And therefore, the more and more part of what you and I need to be doing and working on is the refining, the recognizing of the neshama over the body. And the more and more we spend time refining the self or the character, right? That's how you and I behave. That's an expression of the soul. That's how you and I are able to delve deeper and deeper and deeper into what it means to truly be ourselves. But we spend so much time on the chitzoniyut and the externalities that we forget about the pnimiyut. We spend so much time worrying about the chitzoniyut, the externalities, that we forget that the real beauty of a person is their pnimiyut. When Adam and Eve saw each other, they saw the essence of their souls. That's what they were attracted to, not the chitzoniyut, not the externalities. The pnimiyut is important. What makes a person beautiful is who they are on the inside. Anyway, so let's go back. So what was the argument? The argument was, do it anyway because God wants you to live like an animal. The Nachash's argument was that if you eat from the Eitz Hadat Tov Hara, you will be like me. Every animal knows that you will find God inside of yourself. An animal doesn't question what his role is. An animal understands clearly exactly what it has to do every single day. Eat from the Eitz Hadat Tov Hara, and you will be like an animal. The problem is that an animal has no bechira, no free will. Adam and Eve chose something that downgraded their reality. And therefore the Torah was given as an opportunity for mankind to connect back to the Etz HaChaim. What was the Etz HaChaim? It was the instruction manuals for life. Had they eaten it, it would have been osmosis. Download literally like Matrix style. You have all the information right now. You know exactly what you need to do. Imagine waking up, taking the blue pill, and now you know exactly what you need to do for the rest of your life. Everything. The person you're going to marry, the kinds of kids, what you need to do, what your job, everything. Every moment of your life has a very specific moment, a specific response that is required from each of us. We have the choice to choose correctly or incorrectly, but imagine living in a world where you always knew what the right choice was. That was the world God created originally for Adam and Eve. And they went ahead and they messed it up. By the way, when the Luchot were given, right, when the Jewish people received the Luchot at Har Sinai, at that moment, they undid the sin of Adam and Chava. And at that moment, we were right there back into a world where we live with that super clarity. And we lost it 40 days later with the Chet Ego. Again, same choice again. Going back to the Eitz Hadat, Tov V'Ra. That confusion. The three sins that Chava does at this moment is she creates the Gili Arayot, Shvichat Damim, and Avodah Zarah. Right here in that pasuk over there. She wants to be like God, that's Avodah Zarah. Right? Because when they eat it, you'll be like God. She goes ahead, it's Tava Le'anaim. She has this lust. Right? Now that's the simple level. On the deeper level, we know from the Gemara that she ends up having an affair with a Nachash. Right here, right then and there. Okay? Adultery happens over here. And number 3 is she brings death to the world. You have the 3 cardinal sins right here, right there. But you also have a breakdown of the 4 elements as well. 4 things: lust, the drive for all sorts of pleasure, the idle chatter, the indulgence, sadness, all this sluggishness all happens right here and there. You're going to see all of these 4 things unfold with the 4 stories that come afterwards. Okay. The Tzidkat HaTzadik says as follows. He says, in areas that a person struggles and repeatedly falls, it is in those areas that he or she is destined for greatness. You think that your impediments are a challenge, right? And they're bad. They are a challenge, but they're good. The things that are most difficult for you, if you're honest with yourselves and you're aware of the things that you struggle with, okay, embrace those things. Those are the things that give you your superpower. Don't run away from those things. Embrace the things that are difficult for you, because that is where your greatness comes from. Okay, let's do a quick sneak peek to the 4 struggles and the 4 realms of struggle. You have earth, water, wind, fire. Okay, the struggle is, for earth, sluggishness, sadness, jealousy. That's Cain and Hevel, the story. Lust and indulgence, generation of the flood. Right? Number wind, the intellect. Levity, idle chatter, Tower of Babel. Fire, willpower, ego, excessive pride, the city of Sodom. Let's go see how that works out in the Pesukim themselves. Is that cool? Come on, guys. This is such a cool topic. You're not excited? Is it too late? Okay, we're going to blow through these very quickly. Okay. Cain says, what? Why are you distressed? And why is your face fallen? What is that? An expression of? Sadness and depression. What element is that? Earth. Very good. Okay. By the way, the word Cain comes from what other word? Kina. What does kina mean? Jealousy. What happens? Right? You are going to be cursed from the earth itself, the same curse that Adam gets. The earth opened up and took the blood of your brother. Right? Because now you're no longer going to go, because you because you work the earth, you till the soil, right? The earth will no longer have its power anymore. You're going to be a vagabond, a wanderer, a nomad. You are no longer going to be able to be a farmer. Your punishment is this. Mesilat Yesharim says a person's natural tendency is to be very sluggish. This is because the earthiness of physicality is dense. It therefore keeps a person from desiring exertion and labor. One who wishes, therefore, to attain the service of the Creator, may his name be blessed, must strengthen himself against the nature and be zealous. If he leaves himself in the hands of the sluggish nature, there is no question that he will not succeed. Okay, let's make it practical. You wake up in the morning, you know what I'm talking about? When you wake up in those mornings, you're like, ugh, I just feel so sluggish. I don't have any energy, I'm not in the mood, blah, blah, blah. Now, you see, we're so used to allowing, especially in 2024, our emotions to define our state. And therefore, we're already centered in this place of sluggishness, and therefore, I'm feeling sluggish. So what do we do right away? What do you need in the morning when you wake up? Coffee. I need something to change the way I feel. Now, I'm a very big proponent of coffee, okay? I only have one coffee a day. And I try to have it around 11 o'clock. When I'm having a really bad day, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I try to push myself not to have it so early because I want to be the one that overcomes my sluggishness. You see, when you wake up in the morning and you feel that sluggishness and you're feeling, it's just so hard, you could do all kinds of stimulants like sugar and all kinds of crazy things in the morning, right? Your fruit shakes, your acai bowls to give you a little boost. Okay, but in reality, it's really a choice. You could try this. This is a crazy thing, I know. Okay, ready? You're gonna wake up in the morning, and I want you to be, number one is you have to be aware of the emotion. I am aware that I'm feeling gross. I want you to walk over to the mirror, look in the mirror. I want you to stand tall, deep breath, exhale. And I want you to look in the mirror and say, I don't want to feel sluggish anymore. I'm choosing not to feel sluggish. And see what that does for you. Just standing there and making a declaration of, I want to be something more. I am not allowing myself to be defined by my emotion. It literally changes your reality. And what's happening there is you're building your choice muscle. Okay? Because that's what it is. Every moment of life is a question about choosing. Do you become a victim to your emotions? It's not my fault, I just feel that way. Right? Or I'm going to be the strong person and say, I'm going to embrace my metziut and I'm choosing to change it. I'm not allowing my feeling of sadness to define my moment in time. I'm not allowing me to feel sluggish, depressed, or whatever it is to get in the way of my day. I choose to be more. Because my emotions don't define me, my intellect defines me. Adam and Chava understood this. But now they're so obsessed with the emotions. And Cain becomes lost with his emotion of jealousy, and it leads him to the ultimate destruction of killing his own brother. Actually, fascinating, Ramban says that one of the reasons that they fought was they were talking about Yerusha after Adam dies. There's only two of them. We're going to split the planet in half. And you know what they were fighting about? Real estate. Which real estate? Jerusalem. And they were fighting about which one of them would take Jerusalem as an inheritance. It started all the way back then. Okay? And we have murder. Okay, great. Okay, that's number one. Number two. Okay, Viru b'nei Elohim et benot ha'adam ki tovot henna. Right? And the children of these divine beings saw the daughters of man, and they were pretty, and they took them, they took whatever they wanted, meaning married, it didn't matter who they were, they just took people and did whatever they wanted to, they really didn't care. Okay? Shlomo Melech teaches us a very profound lesson, that lust is often compared to water. Mayim gnuvim yimtaku. Everyone knows that stolen waters are sweeter. This can of Dr. Pepper belonged to Rabbi Farhi. It wasn't stolen, it's in our office, but I know he likes them, but I always feel guilty taking them. I changed it. Anyway, he's not going to watch this video. But anyway, but everyone knows that stolen waters are always sweeter. Why is that? And why is the reference to water? Why is it stolen bread is tastier? Why does Shlomo Melech point out that the water is somehow connected to lust? Oh, it's definitely slippery. No question about it. Okay, so let's look at number 15 for a minute. Okay. Now we know that this pasuk over here talking about the children of man taking from the daughters is the precursor to Noach and the flood. Vayakol haaretz, right, and the flood. Okay, and therefore the water emotion, okay, is the generation of the great flood. The flood is the same exact thing that is used to go ahead and correct the issue of that generation. Cain, by the way, whose issue was what? The earth, him spilling his brother's blood into the earth. His punishment is what? To traverse the earth. Can't stay in one place. He's got to keep moving around. Noach, right? A breakdown in the water element or in the water midah. Okay, what happens? Boom, water destroys the whole entire planet. Lust. It says that they were so lost in lust, that generation, that even the animals began to sin at that time. Even the animals were copying what was happening on earth. And therefore, the animals had to be destroyed as well. Okay, great. Now you have the third one. Let's go back. Let's go to the Tower of Babel. You had this amazing, intellectual, super intelligent, ancient culture that were building this massive, massive tower, one of the tallest buildings in the world at the time. Let's come. We're going to build a rocket and get into the space. And we're going to make ourselves a name. Lest we be scattered across the whole planet. They were using their intellect to understand. Listen, Cain he can't go ahead and find. He's a nomad. Okay, the flood displaced everyone from the earth. Both times the earth is destroyed, punished. Earth, water. So what are we going to do? We're going to outsmart the system. We're going to use our high-powered intellect, and we're going to game the system. We're going to go ahead and build a tower that's so powerful, so strong, that the earth can't move us. Okay, we're going to be in one place, and water can't move us. We're going to overcome the two things of the past, earth and water. Okay, we're going to use our intellect to overcome the two things that destroyed the generations from before. Okay, nice. God says, let's go down and let's just change. Let's confuse their speech. Lo yishmu ish et safat re'ehu. They won't understand each other. V'yifatz Hashem el otam. Doesn't really matter, even though they didn't want to be scattered. What happened? Scattered. V'yifatz Hashem el otam. Misham al pnei kol haaretz v'yachdalu livnot ha'ir. They stopped building the city. They couldn't understand each other anymore. So you have the wind, right? Which is this idle chatter. Let's start using our intellect for stupidity. Where do we see this today in 2024? Everywhere. We are one of the smartest generations on the planet. We have more information, more resources than any other generation before us. Do you understand that? We know more about relationships than any other generation before us. You could go ahead and Wikipedia any subject. Okay, anything you want to know, you could become an expert and ChatGPT it and ask it to be a professor teaching it to you like a fifth grader. Okay, you'll understand it. Okay, you have no shortage of information. Are people happier today? Do people have better relationships today? Do people have better marriages today? No. The question is why? We have all this collective amount of information, wisdom from every generation for the last 5,000 years. Egypt, Greece, Rome, every massive civilization. The peak of all of their intellectual abilities, we have access to it. Combined, we should be unstoppable and the happiest people, and we are nothing. Why? Because intelligence is wind, okay? If you don't have focus, purpose, if it's not clear, it's not intentional, it is useless, okay? The founding fathers of this country understood that democracy, okay, could only work if you have people that believe in God. Why? We say, Reshit Chochmah Yirat Hashem. The beginning of all wisdom is the fear of God. Why? Why is that King Solomon's beautiful proverb? Why is that true? Do you believe it's true? I'll tell you why it's true. Reshit Chochmah Yirat Hashem is true because if you don't have, again, the humility to recognize that I don't have all the answers, that real wisdom is the consistent search for truth. If you're aware that you are far from perfect, that you are an imperfect being that requires perfection, you're never going to be satiated with what you know. You'll always be curious. You'll always be going around looking for more answers. And therefore, this generation was lost with the wind. The Tower of Babel and their whole culture is destroyed simply because they used their intellect because they used their intellect in a way that did not allow them to humble themselves. If you look back, by the way, my son was, I have a 24-year-old, he's turning 25 tomorrow, my oldest son Yaakov, and thank you. And he watched this last debate, the one that destroyed Biden's career, and he said it was like the worst. He's like, I feel stupid. I feel stupider after I watched it. You have someone who is deranged. You have another person who's got dementia, and the whole thing was weird. So I'm like, go look back at a debate from 1980s. Look back at Reagan and Carter, and there's civility, and there's just jokes, and there's intelligence. Beautiful quotes. It's just a beautiful debate, a proper intelligent debate. But yet here we are, 2024. You should see an increase of wisdom and humility, an increase in Yirat Hashem, and you don't have it anymore. It's gone. You have the most base people, the lowest of the lowest people right now running for the president of this country. Why is that? America is the most powerful country on the planet. It has the most patents, the most powerful companies, the most powerful army. How could we have all the most powerful things and yet be so dumb? And the answer is very simple. When you have a country that lasts for so long and you don't give it a deep-rooted understanding in humility, you don't have a clear understanding of purpose. If you think that everything is about money, power, beauty, possessions, homes, vacations, if that's what your life has become, you're creating a world of superficiality. And right now, we are living in one of the most superficial, decadent generations ever. And it's sad, because you see how great this place was, and look where we are, not too long later. You have people today, there was in Brighton Beach, in Brooklyn, there was a house that was flying a Palestinian flag and a ISIS flag. It should be illegal. These are, terrorist organizations. How does anyone in America fly the flag of a country that's a terrorist organization? It's crazy. You don't appreciate the country that you're in. This is happening in Britain and Germany and France right now. We see what's happening. We're not dumb. How does that happen? The host cultures of the West are bankrupt. Why? No God. No God, no future. No humility. What happens? You have a bunch of barbarians running around now who are going to tell them what their futures are going to look like, and it's terrifying. Terrifying. No clarity. No Yirat Hashem. Like the wind. If your intelligence is idle chatter, it goes there, it's useless, it goes nowhere. Yeah.
What if that home belonged to somebody who believed fervently in their God, which is most likely the case? I don't think that house is probably.
I have no problem with people believing in their God. I have a problem when the belief of their God leads to more terrorist attack than any other people on the planet.
But I guess, are you speaking to general belief in God is the way, or in
I'm talking about our God. I'm not talking about any God. I'm talking about a Jewish God, because it's the only, by the way, we're the oldest religion. And we know better than anyone else that if you are not a balanced person, you're Majnun. We say it all the time. Sinat Chinam. We talk about the idea of hating your brother. We talk about the core Jewish values are there. I'm not there to go ahead and proselytize. I'm not there to change anyone.
Exactly.
But when you have a religion that's responsible for the deaths of millions of people just in the last 100 years,
Can we expect other religions to kind of live up to our standard if we're not accepting them into our religion? That's what I'm advocating for.
Because I don't think that's the answer. I think that the problem is like this. I would say out of the 1.5 billion Muslims on the planet, about 350 million of them are radical. The rest of them are normal people. People that you and I could talk to, and they don't want to behead people. They don't want to do what happened on October 7th. I mean, these are these are savage animals, what they did. Torturing people. I don't have to tell you what they did to these people. I mean, it's insane. This is 2024. How are you stealing a baby? What's wrong with you? How do you take an old woman, a grandmother, and put her on the back of are you sick? Who does that? That's evil. And that evil has to be stomped out. There's no tolerance for that stuff on the planet. If we tolerate it, you'll have people chanting and supporting them. There has to be a zero tolerance rule for these things. A drone fell on a bunch of Druze in Israel in the north. How do you let that happen? What's wrong with you? There should be, I don't care, at some point, and this is what we're leading a trip as Rad Hashem in mid-August. We're doing a volunteer trip. We're spending 5 days on a base, army base, working with the soldiers. We're really there to help the base, but really to build the morale of the soldiers that are there. I'm concerned that we might not go, not because of me, but because the situation might get to a point where we might not be able to go. But you know what? If we're not willing to fight for what we believe in, then what do you really believe in? At some point, you got to draw the line in the sand. You got to go out and do something. The same is true, by the way, for ourselves. What do you really believe in? Are you Jewish? Do you believe that it's true, yes or no? Are you willing to fight for this? Are you willing to die for it? Because if you're not, then just okay, you'll just be that person that's sitting there on the sidelines. Just remember that Judaism does not have a future with fans. Okay? It doesn't work with cheerleaders. If you don't have people playing the game, if it's not true for you, then you're missing out on something profound. Your lives are missing out on one of the most profound moments of realizations you could possibly have. When you are living an inspired life, when you're living a life with your truths, you could accomplish anything. There's no fear anymore. You become this fearless warrior. But we get distracted. We get distracted by the stupid things that we get distracted with. The same things that these generations got distracted with. By the way, is your distraction earth, water, or wind? Are you the intellectual type sitting there, oh, let's talk about the philosophy of blah, blah, blah all day, and just get stuck in having paralysis by analysis of ideas that don't even matter anymore? Or is your just lust and indulgence? I want food, I want parties, this and that. Or are you just sluggish, I'm just lazy, tired, depressed? Which one is it? Because if you're that struggle is your ability, is your power to become great. When you overcome those things, that's your greatness. Okay, let's finish up. Sorry about that. I got emotional. Okay, Visa Lot. Let's talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, Sodom and Gomorrah is a Gan Hashem. It's like the garden of God, Ketz Mitzrayim, right? Sodom and Gomorrah is one of the most beautiful cities that existed in the ancient world. Beautiful, lush, green, stunning, gorgeous. Okay, you had everything. It was the pride of the land. Right? There was so much outrage of Sodom. What was happening in Sodom? Sodom outlawed all kinds of charity. No charity giving in Sodom. The famous story of one of Lot's daughters who was feeding a beggar. And the law in Sodom is you're not allowed to feed poor people. If you can't survive on your own, okay, you don't deserve to live. You can't make a parnasah. There's no handouts in that society. You should just die. Okay, so this Lot's daughter grew up in her house, and Lot got it from Abraham. Chesed, 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 chesed. Go out there, and she's slipping the guy some bread. Months and months go by, and they find this guy's not dead. He should be dead. Who's feeding him? They have their police, the Sodom and Gomorrah police, the Sodom and Gomorrah police, to come out. They catch her giving him food. They arrest her, and they have a public execution. How do they execute her? They stripped her of her clothing. They covered her body in honey, and they brought out a bunch of honeycombs with bees in them, and she was stung to death publicly. And it's her screams of days of anguish and pain and humility. That's why this pasuk says we got to do something. Hashem says, Ki rabah chatatam ki kavda me'od. What was their issue? What's the word kavda? What's that word again? Kavod. Ego, honor, pride. You had all those things. Look what Yechezkel says. V'nezeh haya avon Sodom. What was the sin? It was their arrogance. That's what destroyed Sodom. Sodom was ultimately destroyed because of their arrogance. You have over there arrogance is fire. How was Sodom destroyed? We know that it was fire and brimstone, literally, that came down and wiped out Sodom. The 5 cities were destroyed. That kind of evil. All kinds of societies that were there and ultimately wiped off the planet. Each one of the elements expressed clearly in the Pesukim, not an accident. Okay? So you have, this is a clear chart to make it super stupid easy, okay? You have Cain kills Hevel. What's the flaw? Jealousy, sadness. Cain must roam the earth is cursed. Generation of the flood. Powerful men looking to satiate their lusts. They're destroyed by water. Tower of Babel, uniting against God, using the power of words. Their speech becomes confused. They're scattered like the wind. City of Sodom, wealth and arrogance, mistreatment of people, not from their community. They are destroyed by fire. Bezrat Hashem, now that we understand where the issues are, the challenges are, when we look back at the story, we understand the stories are there to teach you something profound about our midot. And Bezrat Hashem, next week, we're going to talk about each midah and understand how to use and turn those midot into our strength so we can become the people that we are meant to be. Wishing you an amazing week. Thank you so much for coming.